Hey, how's it going? Farhan here. I'm here in Toronto. This video is going to be about sleep. It's going to be about hormone levels, especially leptin and ghrelin. These are the two hormones that essentially regulate how much you need to eat, so your appetite, as well as if you are hungry or not. Right? So there's two hormones that regulate all these things. They regulate your metabolism, so we're going to get into a lot of that in this video. A lot of practical matters as well. At the end, I will cover how you can sleep better, because a lot of people know that they need to sleep, but they just don't know how to sleep better. So we're going to get into tips at the end of the video. During the video, I want to convey a lot of practical things. So for example, yesterday, I went to sleep at 8 p.m. and woke up around 8 a.m. So I had a 12-hour sleep session. Now, over the last week or so, I haven't been sleeping well for various reasons, if it's work or just, doing activities. I went to Chicago and Montreal. I had to catch up a bit when I came back. So there was a lot of just like catching up on work, catching up with people, relationships. So I was sleep deprived. There's no excuse, by the way. Sleeping is the most important thing you can do. So there's no excuse. But I know we all live busy lives, hectic lives, fast-paced lives. So sometimes we can't sleep. So yesterday, I came to this realization that a lot of our appetite, a lot of our hunger, especially cravings for sugary foods, may have a lot to do with sleep deprivation. Because I've always known this, I've read it in studies, I've studied this, and also I have experienced this in the past. But yesterday it became really, really bad. Essentially, I just couldn't get full, right? So I would eat some fruits. I needed more food. Then I had some peanut butter and jelly. I needed more food. Then I had some quinoa. I needed more food. I ate a bunch of vegetables. I needed more food. I had some hummus. I'm on a vegan diet, so all I'm naming is these vegan, fruits and vegetables and vegan proteins and stuff. And I kept eating, and I was like, holy shit, maybe it's worse than I thought. And then I started thinking, well, what do the recent studies say? What has been happening recently in terms of how our body's metabolism is regulated, and what can that teach us on how we can understand the importance of sleeping better and get that motivation and inspiration and permission that, hey man, you need to sleep more, or hey woman, you need to sleep more. So that's what we're going to get into soon. The paper I'm going to refer to mostly is published in 2013, so it's very recent, fairly recent. And I will also post the link to that paper in the description below, so you'll know exactly, what the paper says. And it's not that long. You can probably read it in a day. So I'm going to talk about it. And I also looked at a couple of studies that the paper referred to. And so I'm also going to talk about that in this video. By the way it's going to work is I'm going to show you little clips, little passages from the paper, and then we're going to discuss what these passages say. Here we go. So the first one, it says, so this is going to be the actual title of this. It's the actual title of this paper. It's called Heavy Sleepers. Okay, and it is a Nature paper. By the way, if you don't know, Nature is one of the, if not the best journal anyone can publish in. Okay, I submitted to Nature as well, one of my papers, and I did not get accepted. It's a very low acceptance rate. And then we ended up publishing in the Journal of Neuroscience. But it's called Heavy Sleepers, a growing body of evidence shows that getting a good night's sleep plays an important role in regulating the body's metabolism, by Brian Owens. So that's basically the title of the paper. It's self-explanatory. Let's keep going to the first passage now. So this says, one study of more than 1,000 people found that sleeping for only 5 hours rather than 8 hours results in a 3.6% increase in body mass index. In 1999, Eve Van Cote and her colleagues at the University of Chicago showed that sleep restriction in healthy young men led to signs of insulin resistance, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. This finding, quote, changed the entire world of sleep, end quote. So what is insulin resistance? When blood sugar level rises, insulin rises to reduce that blood sugar level. But if your body is resistant to insulin, then that won't happen. And that is one of the major risk factors of type 2 diabetes. So if you look at these two papers, now, first of all, this deprivation of 5 hours versus 8 hours, there's even been a paper about testosterone on this, which shows that men who get only 5 hours of sleep every night have a significant decrease in testosterone after those 5 days. So sleep is just not important for metabolism, but it is also important for maintaining and boosting testosterone. So keep that in mind. Let's keep going. So the next one, we see that tantalizing clues emerged from a study published in 2012 by Tassali, Brady, and Van Cote, so same Van Cote, showing that reduced sleep leads to increased insulin resistance in fat cells. The effect was huge. After 4 nights of just 4.5 hours of sleep, the fat cells of young, healthy volunteers showed a 30% reduction in insulin sensitivity. That's, quote, the equivalent of metabolically aging them 10 to 20 years, end quote, says Brady. Now, same concept, right? We just talked about insulin resistance. So this is to reiterate the fact that lack of sleep is affecting your metabolism in a real way. Now, if you look at a lot of studies that show the effects of insulin resistance on type 2 diabetes, now, you might not be a type 2 diabetic, but remember, a lot of us, not me, but a lot of us are pre-diabetic, okay? We are gonna get diabetes one day, and especially if you have a genetic history of diabetes in your family, then you may be predisposed to diabetes. I know I am. And that is why I'm extra careful to reduce my sugar intake, especially all the desserts I love. Now let's keep going. So here we see that a reduction in insulin sensitivity could lead to less leptin production, which would in turn stimulate appetite and potentially lead to weight gain. Now, this is one of the mechanisms that they hypothesize or propose on how this metabolic change happens. Now, what is leptin? So there's 2 hormones that regulate our appetite and hunger. Leptin is a hormone that basically signals that you are now full. Okay, so that is how you're like, okay, you know what, I've ate a lot of food, I'm full. That is signaled by leptin. The other hormone is known as ghrelin. Ghrelin. G-H-R-E-L-I-N. Ghrelin signals your brain that you need to eat more. Okay? So the more ghrelin you have signaling that you need to eat more, the more appetite you're going to have. And the suppression of appetite or the going of appetite is because leptin says, hey man, you're full. So keep that in mind. This is one of the mechanisms to how sleep may be affecting your metabolism. Let's move on to the next one. Here we go. So again, this is the same paper, okay? And they show these hormones regulate hunger and appetite. We just talked about that. Van Cotter's team later showed that restricting the sleep time of healthy young men in the lab caused the leptin levels to fall and their ghrelin levels to rise, increasing their appetite, especially from fatty and sugary foods. This is super interesting. So if leptin levels, which are telling your body that, hey, you're full, if they fall, then you're not going to be full anymore. So it's like a trick. Like you are full, but it's telling your body you're not full. Okay? The other one is that ghrelin levels rise, which means it's signaling your brain that you need to eat more. Okay, and this is happening in healthy young men like us, right? This is not someone who's like a crazy chronic disease or some really bad disorder. Now, someone who's watching this, you might have a disease, and this will most likely apply to you as well. If it applies to normal healthy subjects, it's going to apply to you as well. And we always want to get healthier and healthier, so keep that in mind. And especially, this is interesting, it's for sugary and fatty foods specifically, or especially. Why? because these are the types of foods that have the most calories. So once you get these calories in, it is more likely for your hunger to be satisfied and your appetite to now be no more or to be gone. All right, so keep going. Eating at the wrong time of day leads to alterations in something. Maybe basal metabolic rate, maybe body temperature. That changes how the body processes the energy that it takes in, he says. If you're eating at the wrong time of day, you're more likely to gain weight. Now, if we keep going, it's not what you eat, it's when you eat. So this supports the body of evidence that shows that the time you eat is also important. So they've done studies with rats, not with humans, but with rats, because rats are nocturnal, right? So they eat at night, they sleep during the day. So what they did was they had rats eat during the day and sleep at night. They forced it. And they found that the rats who had changed their sleep night, their night-day cycle of sleep and eating food had a significantly more weight gain than rats who were normally sleeping at their normal sleeping schedule. So let's keep going. In a study presented at the American Thoracic Society meeting in Philadelphia, she found that a 2-week regimen of the standard treatment for sleep apnea called continuous positive airway pressure led to greatly reduced insulin resistance. Now, this is really good news because this tells us that there is a therapy. There is a way that you can overcome all the years or months or decades of bad sleep. You just sleep more. Now, improve your body's reaction to things like insulin spiking and insulin rising. Use this knowledge, this paper here, to give you the motivation that, hey, it ain't too late. Right now, increase your sleeping schedule and sleep at the right time. Make sure you're sleeping at the day-night cycle. This is known as the circadian rhythm. This is something that's part of the brain. And it is also something that a lot of people don't follow, right? A lot of people who night shifts, they're unable to actually eat during the day and sleep at night. They sleep during the day and eat at night, like the rat study showed. So if you can sleep at night, please do so. Don't disturb your day-night cycle because that can also result in weight gain and for you to have a non-sexy body. Okay, next. As a result, it is unclear whether short sleep duration causes obesity or vice versa, says Horn. I challenge this idea that short sleep makes you fat. I would say that being fat causes short sleep or bad sleep. This is also super important. Keep in mind that we are still studying sleep and how that affects body's metabolism. So there's not specifically all the time a causation to everything that I've said and everything that these papers show. There's sometimes a correlation between two things that doesn't mean that one causes the other. So keep that in mind. It could be that being fat or obesity is the reason you have bad sleep. But either way, try to sleep more. And we're gonna get soon into some tips on how to sleep better. And finally, this is the final passage that we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to give you some tips. 15 minutes of brisk walking every day is far better at regulating your body weight than an extra hour of sleep. So we have to put things in perspective. He worries that people will be tempted to avoid healthy exercise in favor of the less strenuous option of popping sleeping pills, which do have side effects that could be dangerous, and no one working on the complex relationship between sleep and metabolism would recommend such a shortcut. But there's mounting evidence that getting the right amount of healthy sleep can be just as important as diet and exercise in controlling your metabolism, and can do a world of good beyond making you wake up happy in the morning. Awesome, right? So yeah, exercise is important, diet is important, but sleep is also important. Keep that in mind. This paper, as well as things that I've said in the past about sleep. Now, by the way, comment below if you want more sleep stuff. I can go into more science about sleep. We'll talk about the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which regulates the circadian rhythm. I can go into other parts of the brain that regulate sleep and how exactly they're interconnected and how they work. If you want that, if that's going to benefit you, if that's going to give you more motivation to sleep more, great. I always try to keep the videos in as practical a manner as possible, how it can apply to your personal life. So let's get into some tips. Let's assume that you are a person who loves to sleep well and at the right time, but you just can't. First and foremost, sleep in complete darkness. Okay, you need to have a pitch black room, get some blackout curtains. In our book, The Testosterone Blueprint, as well as our this is the 7 hacks, how to boost your testosterone naturally. That book has the specific details on how to do blackout curtains and stuff like that. So check out that book. It's in the description below, and you can have it for free. It's a great book. And there's an audio book as well. And you're gonna get all those instructions. Make sure you click the link below to access a lot of bonuses and stuff like that. So that is the first thing, sleep in complete darkness. The second thing is something I learned from Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, a book that was published recently. He says a lot of billionaires, a lot of very successful people, me and you becoming one of these one day, billionaires, I mean, we're already successful. Essentially, you take 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of honey, and hot water, and you drink that about 20 minutes before going to sleep. Ooh, the air shut off. So that is something you can do. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is sleep at consistent times. So if you're sleeping at 11 p.m., sleep at 11 p.m. every day. Give your body that prediction ability that you can sleep at this time every day if you're having trouble going to sleep. That's the third thing. Fourth thing is eat carbs eat a lot of good carbs, not carbs, good carbs as your last meal before going to sleep. And don't go to sleep right after eating. That's very bad for weight, and that's going to lead to obesity too, or that could lead to obesity. Sleep maybe 2-3 hours after your last meal, and your last meal, make it bunch of good carbs, and that helps me so much, and that's helped so many of my clients, so keep that in mind. Another thing I would recommend is your room. This is the 5th tip. Your room has to be sacred. You can't have in your bedroom like books and cameras and magazines and your microwave. Like, you can't have all that shit in your bedroom unless you have to, unless you have no choice. You're some kind of entrepreneur hustler and you have one room for everything. That's different. But try to make your sleeping area very sacred. So when you go into it, your body undergoes this positive energy, this positive ambiance of, hey, now it's time to sleep. Your body's like all cozied up, like you were when you were a kid with your mommy and daddy. So that's important. This is what I have in terms of tips. Don't do this melatonin shit. Get addicted to all that pills. Please don't do that. That's what I would recommend. That's what's worked for me in terms of sleeping well. And exercise. Fucking work out, man. Go and lift weights and get tired. Get physically and mentally. Mentally, you might already be tired, but get physically tired and so you're able to sleep. That's the 6th tip. And I'm going to give you a 7th tip. Meditation. Meditate before you go to sleep. Calm your ass down. Get rid of your 8th tip. Get rid of your cell phone, your screens, your laptop about an hour or 2 before going to sleep. Don't give your eyes exposure to all that. I'm not going to give you the blue goggles thing because I haven't read the science on it, all of it. So I've read a little bit, but I'm not convinced yet. So I'm not going to give you that tip. Only tip from shit that's worked for me personally. Okay, that's the video. Hope you liked it. Thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to the channel to get future notifications on badass videos coming up about sleep and cortisol and stress. A lot of stuff about hair growth, hair loss treatment type stuff. I'm going to talk about already published some videos about that, but more stuff coming out. And comment below, what else do you want to know about sleep, about metabolism, about leptin, ghrelin? What do you want to know? What can I find out for you and answer for you? All right. And share this video with your friends if you liked it. Thank you very much for listening. This is Farhan signing out from Toronto. I'm here in my room and just recorded a video, read some papers today. I'm really enjoying life. Thank you all for your love and support. And final tip, has nothing to do with sleep, but something that I really appreciate. My buddy Kyle taught me. Be a kid. Be a child. Like, be a fucking child. When you go around in the world and you want to do something and you have fear, think, is this something a child would do? Is this something I would do as a child? Or is this something that Farhan would do? Yeah, it is. And then go do it. It's a mind fuck awesome. See ya.